Okay, welcome everybody. I'm now going to call this meeting to order. It's 7 p.m. on January 16th, and I'm going to begin today with a land acknowledgement. Mount Allison University operates and carries out its work on the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq peoples. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which this nation first signed with the British Crown in 1726. The treaties did not deal with the surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqey title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. We, the staff and members of the SAC, pay respect to the elders past and present and the descendants of this land. So we will move to our first item on the agenda, or item 3, the approval of the agenda. So I'm seeking a motion. Thank you, Councillor Burke. And now I'm seeking a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Minoka McKenney. Perfect. So it was motioned by Councillor Burke and seconded by Councillor Minoka McKenney to approve our agenda. Does anybody have any comments on the agenda or amendments? Go ahead, Councillor Minoka McKenney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have one amendment. In addition to reports, I have a quick item that I just wanted to let Council know. I do apologize for not submitting this earlier, but it should be less than a minute.
Okay. In reports?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'm just going to make a quick note. Thank you, Rowan. Or Councilor Minoka McKenney, sorry. So is there any further amendments? Does anybody have any other amendments they would like to make to today's minutes? Or agenda, sorry. Okay. There's no further amendments to be made. We'll take it to vote to approve today's agenda with Councillor Minoka McKenney's amendment. Y for yes, N for no, and A to abstain. Okay. Perfect. So we've now voted to approve the agenda. Now we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes. So I'm looking for someone to motion to approve the minutes from our November 27th or 28th meeting, I believe. Sorry, let me double check the date, 28th. Thank you, Councillor Minoka McKenney, and I'm looking for a seconder. Thank you, Councillor White. So the motion to approve the minutes was made by Councillor Minoka McKenney and seconded by Councillor White. Do we have any amendments that we would like to make, to the minutes? Please indicate so now in the chat. Okay. So I am seeing nothing in the chat. So we'll take it to vote. Y for yes, N for no, and A to abstain to approve the minutes from our November 28th meeting. Perfect. Alrighty. And we have approved the minutes from our last meeting. So now I'll hand the floor and reports to Councillor Minoka McKenney. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, apologize for not submitting this earlier, but I just wanted to report to Council that the PrEP program will be delayed in its launch. I reported last Council that the PrEP program would be launching this week, but due to COVID, the program is going to be delayed until further notice.
Great, thank you for sharing. Now we are going to move to business arriving from the minutes. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Minoka McKenney. With your question.
Thank you.
My apologies.
No worries. Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more on why the program isn't going through because of COVID. Like, is there any issues with the books going out, or is there any other issues?
Yeah, I can definitely. So kind of with the program, there's two main things that make it function. There's the collection of the books, and then there's the distribution of the books. So the collection of the books happens at the Masu office, and currently the office is running just online. So in order to make the collection possible, another additional administrative part would need to be added on for books to be collected, as well a way to make sure the books are collected safe with COVID. I will say though that the books like being collected, there isn't danger in the actual books that COVID's going to be spread that way. There isn't strong evidence to show that books can be like good ways to transmit COVID, and that's coming from the libraries. And then also in the library as well too, adding on this additional parts, so the distribution of the books. It comes a bit too complicated with COVID, and I don't want to add on another service while they're trying to deal with COVID, but primarily the reason is because of the collection of the books since the office is online. Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. Does anyone have any further questions? My apologies for not pausing for questions. Okay. Now I am not seeing any further questions. We will move on to business arising from the minutes. So I'm going to hand it off to Councillor Richardson to speak more about the referendum vote that is happening today.
Yeah, hi everyone. So for those of you that were there at the last meeting we had before the break, it was brought up that there would be a referenda initiated, or at least a motion to initiate a referenda brought up at an upcoming meeting. Well, that is this upcoming meeting. So I will in turn hand it off to students at large, Martel and Kasher, to introduce the referenda motion that they hope to introduce and potentially pass through at this meeting. So I'll pass that off to students at large, Kasher and Martel now.
Hi, unfortunately, the co was present and could not make it today. She had a family emergency, so it's just going to be me presenting. But yes, oh, and I'm good. I'm good to go. There's. Yeah, so we run the WSCA student refugee program, where we work to bring in student refugees to study at Mount Allison. This referendum is part of our response to the Afghanistan refugee crisis, where WSCA National is asking student refugee committees in universities across Canada to accept an increased number of refugee students, particularly Afghanistan refugee students in this case. So normally we sponsor one student every two years, and we're looking to essentially allow an opportunity for increased funding through a student referendum, so we can bring in an additional students. Since we last spoken, we have received funding from Mount Allison University itself. However, after exploring other options in terms of looking at the possibility of a possible Afghanistan refugee student receiving loans once they are here. That process in New Brunswick is incredibly convoluted. So we have determined that supporting the refugee student financially for 4 years would be the best possible outcome, which is why compared to our initial question, this funding amount has been increased, but through the $14 per year for 2 years, which is the amount we're asking, we should be able to support the student for the 4 years while they're at Mount Allison, and with 100% and tuition living costs in the first year, 75% in the second year, 50% in the third year, and 25% in the fourth year. So with that, yeah, we're essentially asking the committee, do you support including the following referendum question in the January 22 massive voting period, which is, as per our final wording, do you support a 2-year student levy of $14 per year for the student refugee programs to sponsor an Afghanistan refugee student to attend Mount Allison?
Great, thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to direct towards student at large Tess? before we take this to vote? Go ahead, Councilor McKenney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I kind of more have an administrative question a bit, so this might be a good question for Councillor Richardson. So today we're voting on specifically to approve the question that's going to go in to the referendum, not, well, actually, I'll leave it at that just to make sure that like councillors know exactly what we're voting on today.
Go ahead, Councillor Richardson.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Councillor McKenney. I was actually just typing comment in the chat as you were asking there. So essentially, the way that referenda work through the Students' Union is that they can be initiated either one of two ways. So they can be done through the student body outside of the SAC, whereby a petition is brought forward with, I believe it's 25% of the student body having signed a petition to introduce a referenda, and then that is brought up as a referenda question. Whereby a certain quota, I believe of 20%, although the numbers might not be 100% accurate. I can double check on those for the purposes of the actual election, but there is a different percentage that needs to vote yes in order for it to get approved. In this case, and this is actually where most of our referenda have been initiated for as long as I can remember, or anyone that I know has remembered really, is through the SAC directly. So, and this is a great point to interject here. In order for this motion to be approved as an official referenda, you will need a 2/3 majority vote. So it's not simple majority, 2/3 majority will be required. And then this will become officially a referenda. Students at Large Casher and Martel, along with the WUSC Student Refugee Program, will then be registered as the yes side in this referenda, and they will be campaigning on behalf of voting yes for this question which will be its own ballot question included for convenience sake alongside with the executive elections that are coming up in the next couple of weeks here. In theory, the way that referenda works, somebody could initiate to vote, create a no position. That's always something that exists for referenda. You can formally do that, but obviously that only happens if in response to the referenda, somebody decides to do that. For the purposes of what we're doing here tonight, it's simply voting on this as being a motion to become a question for referenda, and that will require a 2/3 majority vote. I hope that that clarifies it a little bit for councillors interested.
Great, thank you for that description. That was very helpful. Go ahead, Councillor Burke, with your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was just wondering if maybe within the question, or if this will be outlined further when it actually goes to vote, like, do you support a 2-year student levy? And maybe we should say like starting, maybe this is more of, I don't want to like completely throw an amendment or anything, but like starting, so like next year, or so that students understand that this fee wouldn't be immediately charged to them, but it's like starting in the following year's fees. I don't know if that's something that should be clarified within the question, or is it able to be like made clear when people are actually voting within like the Simply Voting system, if there'd be more of like a breakdown.
Go ahead, Councillor Richardson.
Yeah, so both of those options are possible. Like with all other elections, the WUSC Student Refugee Program can choose to have a description alongside their position on the referenda, indicating why students should vote yes, essentially. And in so doing, they can outline exactly more specifics about it. That said, if the Student Refugee Program would like to specify that in the question, that is also something that can and has been done in the past. Ultimately, the approval of the question, the way it goes through here, is this would be the time to suggest potential amendments. So if councillors do have amendments for the question to field to the WUSC Student Refugee Program, now would be the time to do it before officially voting on it, because the official text that is voted on tonight will be the text of how the question appears in the Simply Voting page if it were to get voted through. So if there is friendly or unfriendly amendments or any kind of amendment, tonight would be the night to make those formally.
Yeah, maybe if I can respond to that, Madam Chair. I don't think I'm gonna propose an amendment, but maybe just encourage a clarification into the description in simply voting, just to make it super clear for students on what they're voting for. Because I feel like people are probably more likely to be like, oh, I'll cover that fee next year and worry about it later and vote yes for now than worry about fees on right now. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thanks. Does anyone have any further questions to direct towards our WUSC student at large representative or towards Councillor Richardson? Okay. So I think it would be best to proceed to vote on each of these individually. Councillor Richardson and the WUSC representative, would you prefer that, or to vote on both of them at the same time? So we can just do them both. Go ahead, Councillor Richardson.
Yeah, sorry, just to clarify what you mean by both of them. Do you mean the suggestion essentially, vote on the suggestion and then vote on the question itself? Just to clarify exactly, because as far as I know, it's just the question directly that we have to vote on, but I'm just curious.
No, you're right. Sorry, I was just a little confused for a second. I was reading the wrong thing. My apologies. Thank you. Yeah, it's just on the student levy question that we're voting for. So I'm seeking a motion to accept this question as a referenda. Thank you, Councillor Penny. Do you have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lesser. Are there any amendments to be made? We discussed that and I don't believe so. Okay, sweet. So now we're going to take it to vote. Y for yes, N for no, and A to abstain. Okay, lovely. So we have achieved a 2/3 majority vote and we have accepted this item as a referenda for the upcoming election. Thank you so much, Student at Large Casher, for all your work. And yeah, sorry.
Thank you so much. I speak on behalf of all of us when I say, we're really excited to start planning this, and thank you so much for making this a reality. And there's some amazing council members who are also on the SRPP as well. So it was a huge shout out to them for all their incredible work.
Great, amazing. Thank you so much. All right, so we are going to move on to new business. Nobody submitted anything to new business, so we're just going to move to open forum. We placed in a COVID-19 discussion period, so if anybody has any questions about the COVID-19 protocols the university is taking, lockdown, or anything like that, please bring them forward now. Go ahead, Councillor Burke.
Yep, thank you, Ms. Chair. So I added this discussion item in, and it was essentially just to make sure that council was aware of what was going on, and if there's anything that's been missed kind of in terms of communication from the university and they had any questions, I'd be happy to help answer them or kind of note them to bring forward to the university. And I will also note that there was a community discussion that the university held on COVID, and we had gotten some student feedback from Instagram from students asking kind of what concerns they had about delivery in this semester. And I will say there's quite, and I got some time to speak at this community event, which was very nice, but kind of the main thing that we saw is that students are just, as anxiety inducing as COVID is, it's even more, I think, anxiety to not kind of know what's going on in your semester, and the students are not really seem to be excited, or the kind of majority that we had gotten feedback from aren't very excited about, the idea of possibly having this online stint extended, or vice versa, coming back in person and then being shifted online. And so what we've really been pushing, and what I spoke on at this discussion was just, if there's any decisions that are going to be made, students need to know with ample time in advance to make changes to flights and all that sort of things. And then as well, there are quite a few concerns about how 5-day isolation is going to be implemented in the classroom, in residence, and that sort of thing. And just in general, quite a few, and we're quite worried about as well student mental health during this time, especially if there's students who are already here and now are isolating in one household bubbles. I will say that next week, the exec, and hopefully with a hand from entertainment, we're going to look to try to put on some maybe just online events over the next little bit with external affairs as well, to see what we can do to kind of get students outside and just busy and entertained during this kind of uncertain time. But yeah, that was just my opener, and just looking to see if anybody had any general thoughts or comments.
Great, thank you so much. Go ahead. Student at large, Kaser or Michaela, please go ahead with your question.
Hi, I was just wondering, maybe you don't know yet, but I was just wondering when we would find out whether or not the rest of the semester will be online or partially in person.
Yeah, if that's okay, Madam Chair, I can respond to that. So although I'm not certain of a date, I have been on quite a few calls with Ann Comfort, who's the VP Student Life for the university. And they said, any decisions that are going to be made are going to be hopefully made within the next week to give students time to figure out what's going on. Of course, we're always at the kind of, if they decide to go and stay in person, we are always at like the will of GNB. And whether or not they decide to, continue in level 3 protocols and that sort of thing. But if there was a decision to move the rest of the semester online, from what the conversations that I've been having, most likely we'd have at least probably within the next week to give students a couple weeks advance notice. Thank you for that question, by the way.
Great, thank you. Great question. Go ahead, Councillor Lesser, with your question.
Okay, thank you for thank you for making this a topic of discussion here. Recently, New Brunswick approved the 3rd dose booster vaccine for most of our university's population, which is 18 and over. I was wondering, I know that we had on-campus flu shot clinics, and I know that the school was very strongly campaigning for people to get their first and second COVID-19 vaccines. Have you heard anything about the school setting up like an on-campus clinic or any sort of campaign to encourage people to get 3rd dose vaccines? And if so, what kind of is the schedule on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can also respond. So I will just like Sackville Grapevine news, but the Guardian is currently offering booster shots. So tell all your friends, you can pretty much walk in and get them. So the university is trying to work with the Guardian to get boosters, and they've also been in talks, from what I was told, to get a vaccine clinic on campus. However, that's going to be halted until after, my understanding, we're not kind of on COVID lockdown. So I think right now, and we're going to try to be doing this as well and work with our health services coordinator to put some news out about where students can get vaccinated, specifically at the pharmacies. But there was supposed to be a clinic in the near future. And my guess is, and what I was told is that it would probably be put on pause during any big restrictions. Not sure like 100% if there's might still try to move forward with it later into level 3, but my guess is they'd be waiting until like a full in-person return. Sorry, that got a little long-winded there. I hope that answers your question.
Great, thanks.
Thank you very much.
I have a question as well, Councillor Burke, about rapid tests. Has there been any talk of trying to get rapid tests back on campus, because they're kind of a hot commodity these days, and especially with people coming back from away? I'm just wondering what that might look like this semester.
Yeah, so the interesting thing and another kind of bombshell that GMB dropped on the university pretty last minute is that in their press conferences is that rapid tests are now only to be used for diagnostic tools and not for screening. So they're only if you're already symptomatic should you be getting a rapid test to kind of rule out whether or not it's COVID. So there is a little bit of a hesitancy to be passing them out and students just to be using them kind of all the time or every day or before they're about to go to an event, because it's really supposed to be I'm already sick, which is a little bit, problematic, but unfortunately a provincial issue. And I know Ontario right now is just moved to no rapid tests, basically. And if you have symptoms, just consider yourself to be having COVID and isolate for 5 days. So I do know that the university has ordered more rapid tests. I think they're prioritizing giving them they made sure that every resident student had at least 2 for now. But I'm assuming that when we come back, they will be trying to offer them out of the wellness center again. But again, it would be only for, I already have symptoms and how can I kind of check my box if it's COVID or not now. And I think there's no pickup. There used to be kind of the mobile pickup sites where you could get rapid tests. I don't believe Horizon is doing them anymore, but you have to call and set up to get them, which maybe is it something that we should look into and help promote as well. So I might put Counselor Fuzezi and her staff on some help looking into that probably. So thank you for that question.
Go ahead, Counselor Fuzezi.
Madam Chair.
Sorry, yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but I just noticed that a student at large had asked you a comment. I believe it might have been missed in the chat.
I'm so sorry. I will scroll back.
Mine can totally wait.
Yeah, okay, yes, sorry. Student at large Trelom, Kaylee, I'm so sorry about that. I missed your comment. Please go ahead with your comment.
No worries at all. First of all, thank you for hearing what I have to say today. I know a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on this matter, and whatever you do, it's not going to please everybody. So I just wanted to recognize that first of all. I just wanted to give my opinion on the option of closing campus for good this semester and moving us completely online. Firstly, if we wanted to complete an education online, then I'm sure most students would not be enrolled in Mount Allison. They would most likely go to a more financially manageable university that runs completely online throughout the year. Students fly to Sackville from all over expecting to attend their lectures in person. Why should they pay thousands of dollars in airfare, rent, groceries, just so they can sit in their room and listen to a pre-recorded lecture? Along with this, we're still paying school fees that pay for services such as mail, gym access, etc., all of which are unnecessary extra expenses if students are forced to work from home anyways. I just have a quick question that can be answered later on if you like, or it could just be purely for the speech. It doesn't matter to me, but how much of our tuition money is being spent on operations of campus buildings that are now closed to us due to this potential move online? We're paying nearly $5,000 in tuition this semester alone for an in-person education. So should we be forced to move completely online? I would hope the MASU would take steps to look into a partial tuition refund, as currently I'm paying for an in-person education, not an online education. Online education has also had a significant impact on students' mental health, which I'm sure everyone is aware of. Personally, and every peer I've spoken with on the matter has suffered mentally because of online learning. Being almost exclusively online last year, my peers and I have all experienced a dramatic impact on our mental health. Some professors have even expressed concern about this issue to students. Last year, having been almost completely online again, many others as well have noticed a substantial drop in GPA. For upper year students looking into postgraduate studies, not only has their mental health been affected by the drop in GPA, but also their chances of acceptance to the postgrad of their choice. As for lowerclassmen, the online format insufficiently prepares them for higher education. As another example, many students with an attention deficit disorder, the online format has proven exceedingly difficult. I understand our safety is your top priority, and I fully agree with everything that's happened in the past, especially when COVID first hit. I think that was handled very well. But by putting us back online, I do believe that this decision would do more harm to students than it would good. To put it frankly, we're all adults here, and as such should be able to access to assess the personal risk and have the freedom to choose whether or not to attend our education in person. Perhaps live streaming could be an option that would accommodate both students who wish to stay home and those who wish to attend in person. As well, if you haven't already, I strongly encourage you to read the letter sent to universities across Canada by Bonnie Henry, the Provincial Health Officer of BC. That's pretty much my rant for the day. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you so much for sharing. Please go ahead, Councillor Burke.
Yeah, first off, I want to say I really appreciate that comment. We have really been trying to get kind of student feedback about what's going on. And I'll also note maybe a cool thing is that Bonnie Henry is actually an MTA grad from the class of 86. But yeah, I do want to say that we have, and maybe this is a comment to pass over to Councillor Nolan as well, but we have discussed, you know, if Mount A does decide to fully move online, things like residents, we would be for sure looking into the possibility, is it a possibility to be getting rebates for things like those? And I don't want to like guarantee that that would happen, but something that we've already started to, and I like talk about in our executive meetings is if this shift happens, then we're definitely not currently pushing one way or the another, but just trying to look to see, how can we make sure that students, as you said, not everyone's going to be happy, but best support everyone at the end of the day, no matter what happens. And I can also say I have a twin sister. I don't know why I always use her, but she does go to Queen's, and her education has been fully online now for the last 2 years. And she's had to, move home and deal with kind of missing out on and paying double rent and that sort of thing while not being at school. So I can definitely relate and emphasize with where you're coming from. And I appreciate those comments because it does help us when we're, bringing in and thinking about both sides and talking with the university. So yeah, my comment is basically thank you for those words. And I don't know if Michael wants to touch more on anything, but I just wanted to put that out there.
Go ahead, Councillor Nolan.
Yeah, just as Charlie said, thank you for your feedback. The only thing that I might be able to address was sort of your question related to how much the university is spending on keeping buildings open while we're online. I don't have a precise number, though I will state they have had increased COVID expenditures in their budget, and a question of that nature might be better directed to Chris Milner or Robert Engels, so the budget director and vice president finance and administration of the university respectively, just to sort of relay where some of those questions or comments may go, because they'd have precise numbers for you. But again, thank you for your feedback.
Thank you, Councillor Nolan, for clarifying that as well. I have another question here from a student at large. Go ahead, Mohammed.
Hello from first. I hope everyone is safe. So my question is, can Mount Allison help international students in any way for the study permit? I will continue my question because I myself, I got refused for my study permit, and the class is already started. I am starting on the university as it's online. So what if I didn't get my study permit? Where can I go? Like, if I try to apply for another college, I have to stay home for one whole year because everything started already. So yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Counselor Burke, are you raising your hand to answer that?
Yeah, I just couldn't get my actual hand on Zoom quick enough. In terms of study permit, I'm going to drop the email for the International Center in the chat because I'm not 100% sure on the logistics, but I know that they can point you in the right direction. So I'm just going to make sure that I have the right email, and then I'll drop it and they can answer. And they've been doing a lot of work to support students with study permits. Also, I'll drop the email for Adam Christie because he's also the director of international students, and he might be able to help you as well because I know he's been doing some of that work already. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Great. So Charlie or Counselor Burke's just going to put those emails in the chat. Does anyone have any further questions or comments about COVID-19 or anything else around campus? Go ahead, Counselor Fusezi. I'm so sorry. I forgot about your comment from earlier.
It's all good. It's all good. So my comment was really just about rapid tests. So like Counselor Burke mentioned, you can have them picked up. So if you do go, if you just search like on Google, anything of the sorts, like rapid test pickup, Moncton, rapid test pickup, Sackville, anything like that, it'll bring you to the Government of New Brunswick website. And under there, it says, what do I do if I have symptoms? So like Counselor Burke mentioned, it is to be used as a diagnostic tool now. So if you are kind of nervous that you may be having some COVID related symptoms, you can mention that you do have symptoms, and then it will offer a pickup time at the Tantramar Civic Center. So you can do that to be able to pick up some rapid tests. And it's super efficient, almost no contact. I believe it's either the Horizon or the Vitalite staff, hospital staff who are there giving them out, and they're super cautious and careful as well. So if that's something you have more questions about, I'm always super happy to answer them. But yeah, I hope that helps.
Great, thanks. Go ahead, Councilor Minoka McKenney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, first I just want to say thank you to all the students who provided feedback today. We really appreciate any students at large feedback, as well as counselors who come to us. But I kind of just wanted to comment that as many classes weren't planning to be online at this point and going longer, if students do have issues or need accommodations with classes, to please feel free to contact me. But I will say that what I'll give a lot of the advice will be to contact your professors and talk with them about different accommodations that can be done. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is that professors have a ton of control in the classrooms for what accommodations that they can give outside of the Meehan Center. So I just wanted to put that out in case any students had any issues with classes running, them being online now. Just speak with your professors, and also please feel free to reach out to me as well for any issues like that. Thank you.
Thank you for that. It's a great comment, very helpful. Does anybody have any further comments or questions? Okay. I'm not seeing any further comments or questions in the chat. I'm just going to read this comment aloud from Councillor Ehler so that everybody sees it if they haven't already. If anyone has concerns when ordering / picking up rapid tests or surrounding government regulations, including questions, our MLA would be happy to bring anything to NB legislature and to reach out to Councillor Ehler via her email address, massuexternal@mta, to pass on comments or concerns. Thank you so much, Councillor Ehler. If there's no further comments or questions, then we'll move on to reminders. Does anybody have any reminders that they would like to share with council or the student body? Go ahead, Councillor Richardson.
Yeah, this probably goes without saying because it was already brought up earlier in the meeting, but the elections are coming up starting this week. So on the 19th at 8:30 a.m., the election nomination period opens for the winter executive elections. So our outgoing executive will be replaced by election by our new incoming executive. So if you are interested in running for one of their positions, President, VP Academic Affairs, VP External, VP Student Life, then by all means, please send an email to masucro@mta.ca, and I can send you the links for the all candidates meetings, as well as nomination packages and any other information that you would need to know. So if you are interested at all in running, if you have any semblance of an interest in running, be sure to reach out to me. But of course, also be sure to reach out to those who have held the positions in the past, whereas they cannot provide endorsements, or they should not provide endorsements for any particular candidate. They can certainly provide information about what the position entails and anything you should know before signing up for it, because they certainly have a better idea what the positions are than I do. I simply get people elected and into the position rather than knowing the workings of any of the specific roles. So just send an email to masucro@mta.ca if you need a form or more information. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Councillor Richardson. Exciting times. Go ahead, Councillor Ehler, with your reminder.
Was that me, Chair? Sorry, my microphone was muted for a second.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is just your council reminder about food box. The February food box orders will be opened not this coming Tuesday, but in 2 Tuesdays, so January 25th, if you're interested in ordering the February food box, if you are still in Sackville. The program is still running despite not happening over January. I do apologize for that. It was an issue with the community partnership, but the February food box will be going ahead. So just a reminder of that.
Great, thank you so much. Go ahead, Councillor McKenney, with your reminder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is just a reminder that Nimbus is still a thing. So with Nimbus, we're looking for lots more tutors and always happy to take more tutees of people who want to be tutored. So if you were a tutor on Nimbus before, make sure to go in and update your schedule and your preferences so that you can be listed as a tutor and start taking bookings. And if you're looking for some great tutoring on campus, then download the Nimbus app. You can find the link to download, I believe, on our Instagram, but it's pretty easy to look up on any app store, just Nimbus Learning. So yeah, that's all my reminder is.
Great, thanks. Is there any further reminders? No. So I would just like to say that we are now back for the winter semester, and we'll be back with our bi-weekly meetings. So I'll be back on January 30th. For students at large that have attended that might have more questions or comments, we are always happy to have you here. With that, I'm not seeing any indication of further reminders. So I am now seeking a motion to adjourn today's meeting. Thank you, Councillor Burke, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Nolan. Perfect. Thank you guys so much for coming. Great first meeting back. Woo! Good luck, everyone, on your classes.
Thank you very much.